Glad to have you on the program today. Welcome to Press R. On Press R, we do not suppress our emotions. We always make sure that our good sense guides our debate and discussion. On today's edition of Press R, we're going to discuss two topics. The first one is weak opposition and civil society. Is it a curse or a blessing to our society? Then the second topic, political parties, are they political formations or they are personal properties, the way we see it in Cameroon? And to discuss these topics that have been described as actually topics of the day, of our time, we have four gentlemen here with me. I'm going to start from the extreme left of the set. Lucas Tenen Chefo is the publisher of the Reporter newspaper. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much, Kilian. Good afternoon, televiewers, and happy Palm Sunday to all of us. You know, today is the day that Jesus entered Jerusalem triumphantly, as we are meant to believe. And, advertisers consider today as one of the days that the forerunners of advertisement, because when you are going somewhere and you see Palm Sundays, it's an indication that something extraordinary is going to happen.
That's good. Thank you. Happy Palm Sunday to you.
Thank you
and
very much.
Next to you, next to me as well, is Professor Willibrod Zengwa. He is a professor of history. He is also a political scientist. Welcome to the program, sir.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here again today. I want to wish the televiewers a happy Palm Sunday. And I'm glad to share the same platform with very able gentlemen.
It's our honor to have you today on the set,
Thank
Prof. Here it's a man of law, Barrister Ernest Maka. He is a barrister, law and solicitor. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Kilian. Thank you. Welcome to the set to my co-panelists, and thank you for inviting me.
Jim Bonde, our able colleague in CRTV, head of the political service, CRTV radio, and he is always here. He makes sure that everything he says vibrates everything around him. Albert Jim Bonde, welcome to Press R today.
Good morning, good afternoon. Happy Palm Sunday to the viewers. I was happy that Tenen was talking about Palm Sunday, and kind of reminds us of childhood days, right? When taking of photographs was often done in a background that was full of palms, palm fronts.
We do not go far to look for the palms.
Exactly.
Today we have to go very far. Sometimes we don't find them. Yeah. Thank you very much for coming. We are not going to waste any time. The first slot of our program, that's a pace setter, is press review. And our lady on the beat, Emanuela Vemni, is always there. Emanuela, what did the newspapers say this past week?
The OC Ninja feud over who succeeds Frundi as SDF party chair is yet to end, with newspapers reporting on recent developments. The Sun headlines Ninja dares Nick as he says on the Guardian Post, you would have to choose between OC and Littoral SDF. A move Lifetime sees as Ninja going insane in desperate, vicious and futile attempts to push OC out of SDF. Perhaps so because the Littoral SDF ESCO excludes OC from party on the horizon, acting in controversy with flagrant violation of Article 15B of the Constitution on the voice. But a NEG member clarifies on the Herald Tribune, Joshua OC is still SDF militant at regional level. Despite public bashing, OC boasts ready to sign another petition to US Congress on the Guardian Post, even though the same paper reports that party officials say Ninja grossly ignorant of party texts. The Northwest then registers 14 more deaths from COVID-19 in 1 week on the horizon. At the time, government says mass testing paying off on Cameroon Insider. But PCC moderator tells Christians on the Guardian Post, what you need is vaccine of truth, not COVID-19 vaccine. Coming when Scientific Council recommends hold to use of AstraZeneca vaccine in Cameroon. On the horizon, Health Minister then affirms effectiveness of herbs in treating COVID-19 on the Guardian Post. Just when fresh cholera outbreak kills one, 10 others affected on the Herald Tribune. Death then hits National Assembly again as Cameroon's youngest MP dies at 33 on the post-weekend, while the faces of the old young governing Cameroon are published on the Guardian Post. Cameroon then registers 24,000 road accidents, 9,000 deaths in 8 years on the post-weekend, a worrisome situation that pushes Honorable Malomba to lead crusade to curb road accidents on the horizon. This when the deplorable state of Babaju-Bamenda Road worsens as thousands of travelers are stranded for over 24 hours on the Guardian Post. The protest of DDR Boya ex-combatants again over failed promises from government, the intervention of CONAC to save a remaining state land from land grabbers in Boya, the 105 private media organs said to share 120 million CFA francs as government aid, the African Development Bank warning to Cameroon over rising indebtedness to China, and Cameroon's first film, Therapy, to air on Netflix also formed stories reported by the papers this week. Let's now end our press review with a story on the Horizon newspaper, where 12 Cameroonians have received awards and cash for not only achieving a lot for themselves, but contributing to nation building. Unlike other awards in Cameroon, the 12 laureates went home with a certificate and cash on the 15th anniversary of the Horizon newspaper. Among the laureates are Mfon Mokete, the 4th Ekoko paramount ruler of the Bafos, Ate Francis Sonakambo Chair, publisher of the Guardian Post, Nga Christian, and my humble self, amongst others. Until I come your way again, this is your Hour with the Press.
God willing, Manuela will be with you next Sunday for the same debate, the popular program. Thank you very much. And we are going to get straight away into our discussion. The first topic that we're handling today is opposition and civil society. Is it a curse or blessing to Cameroon? There are so many things that might not have happened because we have the weak nature of these very important human aspects, human domains. There are equally things that have happened because they are there. Have they helped us? Or they have help us in the opposite direction, not to go the way we should have gone. That's exactly what we're going to be talking about in the first segment of this program. We'll begin with Professor Willibrand Zengwa, Civil Society and Opposition. We said this week, do we agree that civil society and opposition, we're talking about opposition parties in Cameroon, are they weak, according to you?
Well, interesting question. As opposition, I would prefer to call them alternative political parties in the country. And civil societies, are they weak? Well, I can say they are weak and they are weakened. There are two groups of persons in the tango. They are weak in terms of their political strategies or in their civil society strategies. What strategies have they adopted in order to rethink the rebuilding of the nation Cameroon? Let me say that we have three categories of people in these groups. We have people who are very selfish, very egoistic, self-centered. These people want everything to be around them. We have another category of people who are, I call them, ethnically based. A lot of ethnocentric tendencies. And the people who have these ethnic feelings always think that their ethnic groups should surpass other ethnic groups. So their mindset is always around their ethnic group. And then we have the citizens. I dare say effective citizenry, where people should think about the state, their relationship with the state, their relationship with the other people within the states. Now, these are all subsumed within the political parties and the civil societies we have. So we have civil societies which are very self-centered, but let us understand that they are not only weak by the failure of raising correct strategies, but they are being weakened by the system. Somebody weakens them by playing politics. Let me say before we get to the other, we are talking about politics. I should just say that politics is coining policies to gain power and govern people. So, if you don't coin better policies to get the power to govern people, one of the policies adopted by the system is divide and rule.
Now,
so that is what the strategy they've used to be able to weaken the weak opposition and civil societies.
But the civil society and opposition, weakened, as you have said, cannot give that as a justification that they have been weakened.
Well, you're right.
In a democratic society.
In a democratic society, that is why I defined democracy. They have failed to develop policies, to coin effective policies to gain power and govern the people. So, the civil societies have failed to coin activist civil society tendencies which should be able to be people-centered, effective citizenship, so where they consider the citizen at the center of their policies.
Now, Barrister, we talk about opposition parties. He has said he prefers to talk about the alternative in governance. If I got
alternative political parties.
Alternative political parties. Civil society, we're talking about civil society summarily. Can we know from you who is civil society and who is not?
Civil society talks about a group of people in a society, in a country, in a state that work to defend collective interests. Their interest is to see that those who do not have the voices, who cannot talk, they talk for them and they get them involved in the activities of the state of a country. And so these are the people we call the group of persons that they could be in an organized structure, NGOs, associations, and all of that to defend collective interests.
Yes. Now I got a summary, kind of snappy definition of civil society as non-state and non-profit making.
Yes, absolutely. Their interest is collective. They are for collective interest. They are not for their personal interest, okay? And that's why they are not there to make money. And once you bring in money, it becomes, or profit, it becomes business, it becomes self-interest. But because they are for collective interest, they are non-profit making, they are not for profit, and so they stand for general good.
Now, yes, I will, are lawyers of civil society or the other side?
Yes, I mean, the fact that lawyers stand for general interest, you know, it is true that in course of their activities, they make money. First, they do personal issues, but when they come to general interest within the core of the structure that puts them together, at that level, the Bar Association is a civil society organization.
Let us even concede that at that level, they have to make money in order to survive. But lawyers who now are in politics, they have taken political positions, are they still of civil society?
Yes, as far as within the political sphere, you can consider them civil society members of the society. Now, when they are operating their personal businesses, you know, from time to time they can get to general interest, but first, at their individual levels, it is about their personal interest first.
Thank you. And Jim Bonnet, you will speak, but you wanted to clarify something.
Well, I just wanted to say that the dichotomy should be made clear between what is and what should be. Because the civil society, as the able barrister just defined, is what should be. But what is, there is a strict dichotomy.
I think that's where I wanted to come in with regard to the community in which the civil society operates in. The society in which the civil society operates in gives it the strength to be able to do what it's supposed to do. Gives it the recognition, and that's where when Prof talked about selfishness, I had to differ with him a bit, because You may have all the interests of the community if the terrain is very, very hostile to you and sees you as an enemy or adversary. It becomes difficult for you to carry out the general interest, which is the paramount role that the civil society organization plays.
I see Alben Jembonde so Ichi wants to speak. Can we, before you give your points, can you begin with some examples of what constitutes civil societies? I know we have churches, we have schools, we have NGOs. Are there some others?
I think the most obvious of them that treat with societal issues every day have to do with civil society organizations relating to consumption. Mm-hmm. We know almost 90% of Cameroon has experienced power cuts recently. Water is a problem. Mm-hmm. We have had moments where certain parts have witnessed shortages in the supply of some basic commodities, and generally that is where a lot of Cameroonians expect civil society organizations to come out in the defense of the collective good. Mm-hmm. Now the question is, who are they? How are they structured? How do they operate on the field? Does it end with just communiques where or memorandums that they write and send to government? I think that is where their weakness or their strength could be assessed. We have a situation where consumers are virtually at the mercy of or the dictates of the producers and the suppliers. Yeah. You take, for instance, you have problems with rising bills in electricity. You definitely don't know who to address yourself to. And I think that when Prof talks about alternative political parties, it brings me also to that, to say that you cannot adopt the same strategies and expect a different result. Mm-hmm. I happen to have spent quite a lot of my professional life in sports, where we are told that if you think that government is not doing things correctly, an opposition or an alternative political party simply should present alternative ways of managing these problems and put before the people, who will then appreciate and make choices when the time comes. But the question is, do we have those alternatives? And that is where the problem is. Because
you are raising a point as part of second part of this first topic. Mm-hmm. Those who are watching you from the opposition, especially the SDF that has been leading until recently, when 2018-2020 elections, when they've been retreating in terms of position as leading opposition parties. We have so many other opposition parties that came up with certain things that have been implemented in government. Government actually accepts that they are the ones who brought those ideas. We have some of those things.
No doubt. You cannot undermine the fact that, let me take, for instance, electoral reforms. The evolution of electoral reforms in Cameroon, you can't deny the fact that the SDF did a wonderful job in pressing for those reforms. The electoral code, for instance, transparent ballot isn't the best. But we must admit that the electoral code isn't the best, but we must admit that quite some progress, significant progress has been made, and the SDF can take quite some credit, significant credit for that.
We are going to talk about SDF. But we will not go deep into that because we'll talk about this. It's been weakened more now, we want to think, because of power tussle in the SDF that's known to everybody. We have not given the opportunity to Lucas to talk about the weak civil society and opposition generally.
Actually, I think the civil society in Cameroon now is weakened, but I have seen the civil society in Cameroon operate. If you remember, Bernard Njonga had ADIC. He used ADIC to push for the ban of imported chicken that was of questionable quality in Cameroon here. Mm-hmm. Okay. At that time, that was the civil society that was acting. He raised awareness, and government actually banned the importation of frozen chicken of doubtful quality, and the local farmers who were producing chicken could make some profit. That was good. But his popularity in that sphere went into his head, and he turned Adik into a political party, and it was weakened, and he failed. Till then, you don't hear about Adik. You neither heard about his political party, nor his civil society organization. And most of the civil society organizations that we have here, like the consumer, as Abe was talking, the consumers are at the mercy of most of these companies. Go even to the telephone companies; those are providing us telephone companies. When you go to buy a SIM card, they don't tell you the rules, the options that are there. Yes. Immediately you slot your SIM card into your phone, they start giving you advertisement. They send advertisement, they send messages, they flood your phone with messages, and no, we are at the mercy. Nobody questions. You don't even know how they build you on your consumption.
So the middle person in this case is supposed to be the civil society.
It's supposed to be the civil society. Civil society is supposed to rise up. You see, in some countries you say whether it is a curse or it's a blessing. It might be a blessing in disguise in the fact that they don't push people to go on the streets.
That's a blessing.
Yes, when the civil society is weak, it's a blessing to the ruling government because it doesn't push people to go to the streets and claim what is rightfully theirs. Because look at, you see, Kilian, at times it pains me that we are in Cameroon. I think apart from 2 or 3 divisions that are named after different structures like mountain, like Fakou, and all are named after rivers, and we don't have water. It's a paradox that in Cameroon, nearly all the divisions are named after water, and there are towns in Cameroon that go for weeks, for months without water.
Even what do you blame that on? Talking about has water sources.
Yes, you see. So, the civil society, nobody seems to care. So far as it doesn't concern you as an individual, you don't care. But if you're a civil society, you're supposed to bargain for the common will, for the common good.
Yes, you just entered the crux of the matter. Prof, we'll go around and say, is it a blessing or a curse?
Well,
what do you think?
Before, if you permit,
civil society, we're going to talk about political parties.
Civil society and political parties, civil society. I'm surprised when Barrister said that he disagreed with my classification of the peoples of Cameroon. And I want to be very emphatic on that. Cameroon is divided into 3 groups of people. People who are very self-centered, people who are thinking only about their ethnic groups, and people, a few, who have effective citizenship in their tenets. Why I say this is because the civil society organizations are classified in those tenets. That is why a greatest majority of the civil societies, I'm a civil society activist, the greatest majority of the civil society organizations in this country do not think citizenship. They are either selfish to make money. I said we should do the difference between the theory and the practice. Many of the civil societies are out to feel that some of the civil society organizations exist in private mallets. They have no structures.
Yes,
and they go around pretending to be doing what the thing should be. I think there are a few civil society organizations which have been able to impact in one way or the other. I think I don't need to list them. But the greatest majority of this civil society should have been able to coin their strategies and policies enough to push government action to be for the interest of the greatest majority of the Cameroonian people. I think that is what I stand.
Barrister, you moved that debate forward?
Yes, I disagreed with Prof with regard to the selfishness aspect, and that's why I cited the issue of the society in which the civil society organizations find themselves in. If the society is the type that encourages compensating members of civil society because they belong to a certain ethnic group, it means that it is a society, it is a country, it is a state that encourages the state of affairs that makes it difficult for civil society to strive in it. If the state sees the civil society as a structure, just like in many countries, that is there to call their attention to the things that are not working, for the things to get better. You know, we will not be getting into ethnic groups and all other aspects that bring in this selfishness. So my blame gets back to the context, our country. whereby the tendency is to penetrate and see how we bring out those we consider as creating problems to us, because we don't, the state, does not encourage alternative opinion or proposal or contributions for the interest of, for the general good. That's what I meant. I was not disagreeing with regard to...
Kilian, I also think that political parties like civil society organizations, remember I said, who are they, how are they structured, what is the intent? I think that we have in different countries civil society organizations and opposition political parties which are created on the basis of what is experienced in particular parts of certain countries. You take, for instance, we have civil society organizations which are fighting only on the management of forest reserves, particularly in the east region of Cameroon, which is very wealthy, everybody knows, but where the lack of basic facilities is very, very obvious. Mm-hmm. You have civil society organizations, for instance. I come from FACO division. Nobody from FACO division will be happy over the management of lands in that part of the country. Yes. By extension, is the whole of Cameroon that feels the pinch of the mismanagement or the issues of governance of certain aspects. But certain civil society organizations or political parties do emerge because in those parts of certain countries, they feel the pinch more than what we can call the national fraternity. But I think that it bounces to the whole issue of what we're saying, the defense of the collective good.
Defense of the, yes, Prof. We're going to move out of this, yes.
I think we should not always put the state, the blame game of the state, because who is the state? If Jembode speaks brightly about the resources within FACO or land, which are the civil society organizations which have come out overtly to stand for defend the interests of the have-nots, the greatest majority of the people of FACO. That is what we are talking about. Mm-hmm. It's not an issue of the state. Wow. Somebody somewhere, considering himself a civil society activist, should be able to come up. I don't want to list a few of the civil society organizations which have been doing things in the field. There have been quite a handful. But what we are saying is that these civil society organizations should be much more people-friendly. They should work for the greatest interests of the greatest majority of the people with action plans that should be able to push the government. Let me say, I use divide and rule. Sometimes some of the civil society organizations are working to promote the interest of those they should not protect. Mm-hmm. Right. That is what we are talking about.
Okay, that is vested interest. Lucas, the last thing on this civil society, and we'll look at the weakened opposition and why the opposition parties have been weakened.
You want us to talk about civil society?
No, let us go to weakened opposition.
Okay, weakened opposition.
I said the pace. We started talking about the SDF that used to spit fire, and everybody knew about that. Over time now, it's no longer the same thing. We know about the CRM that is not very old, but within the short time that the CRM party came up, it actually created news. It's still in the news, but it's already what we can talk about the debacle of the CRM party. We have had political parties. We have the NUDP, we have MDR, we have ANDP, we have FSNC, and so many other political parties that came up and they were spitting the same fire. They have been either frustrated, weakened, or gone into alliances. We means they are working. We don't see them again as alternative power, as they said. So, what causes this?
The issue is this: when a political party is created, and then the political party's ideology is surrounded by the aura that the creator has, it becomes a problem. And every time a political party is created, people like new things. People will flow into it, and the ideology of the party. Some people who join political parties without even know the ideology of the party. Mm-hmm. When the SDF was created in 1990, their motto was power to the people and equal opportunity. And actually in 1990, it was power to the people. The people could decide. And then there was equal opportunity. Whoever wanted to become a mayor or a parliamentarian was given the opportunity to become. That was how the SDF was gaining grounds. When the SDF was gaining grounds, some people within the party thought that it had become a popularity cult. You understand? Then they started arrogating the powers to themselves. As they were arrogating the powers to themselves, the party people who were no longer comfortable with them, or who the party tenets were no longer comfortable with them, were pushed away. And you could even hear at certain times they say, go and carry your own party. Then it started weakening, and the dreaming fortunes of the party were going. Why the aura around the chairman was increasing, and the fortunes of the party as a party were diminishing.
Now, what the picture you've painted of the SDF is not different from the NUDP. At the time, we could check the whole of that side of the funnel. We have ADD, even ADD, yes, of Gaga Haman Haji. We even also had some other political parties that were. We had the UPC parties that were actually very strong.
Let me just like you see. I was trying to say that when the political parties which are created, because the work of a political party is to gain power and control power. But once you are created, imagine that the SDF now is 30 years. Then if an opposition should be a transitional period. You go there, you form policies, and then get power. The SDF did something very good by creating within the SDF what we call the shadow cabinet. Say, okay, if we win power, this is what within our own shadow cabinet. These are the forces, Ministry of Communication. This is what it thinks. Those were alternatives. But remember, the UPC was the first party, and when the UPC started its own wranglings, Led Kodok went to the African Organization for Intellectual Property Rights to have an intellectual property on UPC, which means that he wanted to own it. It is now, it was no longer a commonwealth, but somebody's private property.
Okay, we will talk about that because the next discussion is about formation or personal property. On this weak opposition parties, Prof?
Yes, if we're talking about weak opposition or alternative political parties, I will pray that you permit me say that before we even talk about those political parties, there are three important words we must be able to know. Mm-hmm. Politics itself, polity, which is a given political area, and policies. What policies each political party coins. These three words must go together. We are talking about national political parties. If we have to consider national political parties, I might make a very sweeping statement that we have only one national political party. Because the other political parties seem to have crafted out different polities that they call theirs within the country. Mm-hmm. That is why if you see the SDF, it has its own polity, which is not national. If you go to CDU, it has its policy that they call their own, the noon. You go to all the political parties have polities, and they are not playing the national political role that they are supposed to play in order to counteract the major CPDM.
In our day-to-day political language, the jargon, we say they are fiefs.
Well, that is their policies, and that makes them not to be national. And that gives credence, more power to the ruling party, which has decided to implant itself all over the national territory. Don't forget, I said that it is a matter of coining policies in order to consider Cameroon to be the national polity. All the political parties must engage in that.
Yes, let us say that these people have understood that the force against them is too strong, and they are Republicans, and it's a blessing to us in Cameroon.
Well, I don't think that they have understood. They have not understood. Because if they have understood, they would have been able to come together and play a single force against the governing house, the current governing house. Let me say that the political parties have been very, very insensitive to the plight of even their polities. If I have to talk about the SDF, for example, there is no reason why the SDF went in for the last elections, when they knew that their polity, the areas, what you call fear, had been weakened to the fullest. And that is why it is very clear that they will not come in with any senator in the next election. So they have not been very strategic and being sensitive to the plight of even the people within the affairs.
Yes, let us also say that may be, as you said, sweeping to say they will not come in the next election with any senator.
No, there will be no senator. It's very clear if we have to do what is happening. We have one council.
We have up to
Senators
4 years.
Senators are voted by specific people. Mm-hmm. And the SDF does not have what it takes to give the electorate what it takes to give them Senate.
Let me tell you that it could be different.
Never know.
Let me tell you that it could be different.
They play their politics very well.
It could be different.
And negotiate with the system to say.
I want to give you 2 examples. In Nyonga Ikele, there's one party. Nyonga Ikele is in the central region division, where you have this new party,
the PCRN.
The PCRN. They actually had more voters in
more
the municipal councillors in the regional election than the CBDM. But the CBDM won. I give you another example in the far north. No, I'm telling you to say, if we go by your
we have one council in the northwest region for the SDF, or if I am not mistaken.
I'm just giving you in terms of majority, it is not.
I mean, it is in terms of absolute majority, except to play the politics, the background politics, that's coining the policies, in partnership with those who are in power to do the politics of negotiation.
In the far north, another example, to tell you that in politics you cannot be absolute. You have the FSNC party that did not actually have the majority, but they won certain positions there. We meet in terms of absolute majority, is not a given.
I understand. Yes, I understand, Professor, when he says that because with just one council, it's pretty difficult out of 34 councils in the Northwest, having just permitted 2. In simple mathematics, it makes it absolutely impossible. But when I say you never know, the political landscape can change. That may warrant this or that to happen, and probably at the end of the day have council elections before senatorials. You never know.
That's correct. Political scientists have spoken. Political scientist has spoken. The head of political service, CRTV radio, has spoken. I leave it at that. Barrister, the SDF is in trouble. Now, let us listen to a professor, political scientist, Professor Matthias Eric Owona Ngini, who first begins by telling us what is happening in the SDF party.
I think that the Social Democratic Front is facing an internal struggle with 2 factions, respectively led by Honorable Joshua Ossi and Honorable Jean-Michel Ninche. This struggle began when the chairman, Nijon Frundi, said that he was close to retirement. The main stake of this struggle is the leadership, is the central leadership. Every faction wants to take the leadership in order to be at the front, to control the party. Honorable Nietzsche represents what I can call the hawks in the party, the hardline faction, and Honorable Joshua Ossi represents the doves and the soft line of the party. I think that the Social Democratic Front has faced in the past many crises of the same type. In the 90s, you have a struggle between Nijon Frundi and Suleiman Mahamat. In the beginning of the 2000s, you have the struggle with other politicians like Christophe Takuju, Siga Sanga, and in the same decade, you have also the struggle with Bernard Mouna. I think it is not the first crisis of this type in the Social Democratic Front, and I don't think the Social Democratic Front is at the eve of a split, of a final split. I think that the National Executive Committee has to take its responsibility in order to to restore order and discipline in the party. Political discipline is very important for a political party. Even if there is an internal debate within the party, it needs to be controlled.
Professor Matthias Eric Onangini, political scientist. You listened to him, he said so many important things, what's happening in the SDF. Barrister, it's not announcing the final split. That's somehow positive, that the squabble in the SDF could come to an end, especially when he comes up with something like the discipline. They have to be disciplined, those who are fighting.
I think that with regard to discipline, SDF has always been a very disciplined party. We have seen sanctions within the party since its inception without taking the defense of that within their ranks. They don't joke when it comes to disciplining their members with regard to the rules of the party. That I don't doubt it. My worry is that when I get analysis like this, I come out with the impression that we are not looking at the context in which we find ourselves. Whatever we see today and what has happened in the past goes back to what I said earlier with regard to civil society organizations. The context, the society, the state or the government party, that is the main party that stands and the other side of the opposition parties likes what is happening within the SDF. And
in politics.
In politics.
Yes. That's what
that is what is, but let me tell you that stems from the history of our country. That is, we are the party that stand on the other side of SDF is a party that comes from a one-party state, and so the intention is to see how they weaken the other parties, no matter how they do it. And that's why when you hear issues
are they the ones weakening
people,
SDF or SDF is weakening itself?
Let me come, Killian. That's why when you hear issues of people were not supposed to go for elections, people took money, that has been the history of our country with political parties. The indecency that has characterized the political scene from independence. I think Prof is here, Prof can say it. It is no news that even around in 1958, it is said that some group of persons were bribed in order to drop, their support for a particular leader. And that has been the trend within our society. And so when you see issues like this, I don't look at it in terms of discipline within the party, but that our context makes it difficult for political parties of the opposition to survive.
Yes, Prof, before you come in, Professor Matthias Eric Onangini talked of that struggle in that party that's weakening it is a struggle of different visions. The faction, not only in terms of faction, but visions. The conservative and the call it soft.
The SDF, I believe, is my opinion anyway, that the SDF will come out of this stronger, because there are two factions. When OC came in, that is 2018, it was a faction of the young coming in with a different dynamic.
But they've not performed better.
In a different dynamic in the party.
The party has instead not performed.
Yeah, the party has not performed. I want to restitute it. He came with his own vision, a vision of the young, and the party promoted. Now, Ninche, we know Ninche as a hardline of the party. And Ninche and Osi come from the same political field, because Ninche is the littoral regional chairman, Osi is a parliamentarian from Uri. Irrespective of the fact that Osi comes from Indian, and where he went and contested regional elections, contested senatorial elections, the same senatorial elections that Nin John Fundi contested, he went and contested in Indian, and when he failed there, he rushed to Douala and became a parliamentarian there. These two factions, you have the National Advisory Committee, NAC, you have the National Executive Committee that has to sit and decide to bring down, quell down the factions. But my problem there is the Article 8.2 of the SDF, which over the years has been used on people.
Yes, Article 8.2, just as a reminder, is the one that is disciplinary.
It
sanctions you.
Yeah, it's this is the wording of the Article 8.2, that any person caught in anti-party activity auto-excludes himself from the party.
Okay.
Now, let me tell you the weakness of Article 8.2. The weakness of Article 8.2 is that anti-party activities are not predefined.
Good. Now we got that. Prof. Nijon Frundi, called chairman across the board. He has announced that he's going to quit his position as leader of the party. Will the SDF stand or will it disintegrate? Is it the death of the party?
You just pushed me to answer a question maybe very clearly. Well, I think that I have a wish, that the SDF should come out from the current imbroglio stronger than ever. I want to say that I think there is a Ninche whom to me has remained faithful to the original aspirations of that political party, whether the new breed or so. I want to pray that Frundi will go, and I think that he created a party that is going to live and that's going to last. But I want to beg to move away from your question, to say that we have concentrated so much on the SDF, and I will not want to concentrate on the SDF. I wish the party well. But I want to say that what is happening in the SDF has happened in all political parties in Cameroon.
It's good you say that.
After this. Yeah, we wanted to say so that it shouldn't be as though it is SDF. It has happened, and it is happening in all the other political parties. We have cited UPC. It has happened in the NUDP, even the MRC party that is coming up strong. So we should understand that in the game of politics, we always have those internal turmoils, which requires the internal discipline, what we call party discipline, to be able to get to board. But those policies should be adhered to from bottom top, not imposed from top to bottom.
We got you very right. We're talking about the SDF. The President of the Republic has referred to him as chairman. His other people down the line have called him as chairman, and that word chairman is a mark of respect. The Deputy Secretary General of the Central Committee of the CPDM tells us when we go to him that they call him chairman. It's a matter of respect. It also means that he has some spiritual attachment to that party. Njembonde, political reporter.
That is
political reporter. When he goes, is he going to guide that party, or he leaves it? If he leaves it, will he stand?
The bottom line, the message, the lesson behind what is happening is make the party structure stronger than the person who leads them.
Good.
As long as the leaders are stronger than the political structures, issues of succession become very difficult. And like Prof was saying, it is something that cuts around across all the political parties in Cameroon. Are you sure without party chairman Paul Biya, the CPDM will remain the same? I'm not sure. Dr. Adamu Damjoya is not there today. Is the party the same? I'm not sure, despite the fact that it keeps its fear of the known division. Are you sure that if we talk about succession in the NUDP party without Maigari Bello Buba, it will remain the same? No. So what I'm saying is there are three aspects. In politics, there must be patience. A lot of our political following is not patient. Once the SDF said power to the people, they were running for power, it did not come as quick as they expected. Part of the fervor behind the party started dwindling.
Okay.
And that's why it's been progressive. Yeah. As time goes on, it keeps. So we need to build a political mentality that calls for patience, that people can mold something and see it grow. Good. The second aspect I said about structure, the party structures must be stronger. The other is the choices. When do we make the choices? What are the choices? We are thinking about talking about the SDF. Is it the right time to let party chairman Nijon Frundi go? I don't know. I am personally not sure. It was the time for him to go.
Thank you.
The other aspect is, has he a choice of a succession? It could tilt the balance.
I listened to him today saying that he is not disappointed. When you have children, you have to see them, struggle, and you know which position you stand.
Because I also think that
we are going to come back to that point and look at personalizing a political party, what that can be, and that's what we're talking about. But before we do that, we have Elvis Teke, who has come in with reactions from some of you who connected with us as we went on with the debate that is current. You connected as, even if you have not, you should go to CRTV web Facebook page, and you will see us there. We're streaming live, and you could participate in this program. Some of you have done so, and Elvis Teke is here with your reactions. Elvis?
Yes, Kilian, it's a pleasure to be here again. We begin straight away with Tumfo Nikuhale, who says most structures in Cameroon are synonymous to the names of those who head them, and this is painfully unfortunate. And do you know what it would have meant if the General Assembly of the Cameroon Bar Association was called the Nico Hale General Assembly of the Cameroon Bar Association? When I was president for 4 years, we would have emasculated or incapacitated its relevance. And the General Assembly of the Cameroon Bar not belong to Nico Hale. It belongs to the Cameroonians in general and to the lawyers in particular. And we have learned to private state institutions. A political party is a state institution and should for no reason be attached to an individual. And we proceed once again with Prince Metapene Obesa Mudika, who says political parties in Cameroon are becoming a liability to our democracy, as many of them newly created political parties are stooges, handclappers, and dormant to the happenings in our beloved country. And Elvis American says political parties in Cameroon are more of personal properties. When you begin to hear words such as natural chairman, then you already understand the gymnastics, and you keep hearing the same names for decades and decades. And however, I'm happy with the guests on today's panel, that is Elvis American. And Nico Hale comes again to say weak opposition and civil society is a despicable curse. And this is eloquent proof of the very high level of moral decadence in the country.
Thank you very much, Elvis. Take care. You listen. You also watch your reactions coming from wherever you are, because you're connected to CRTV web, Facebook, and you brought those contributions. You can also watch this program at your convenience if you just connect to CRTV web, Facebook at any time you want to. You listen to that. Our congratulations to Ntumfo Neku Hale, who as an ambassador of peace got one other award, international award. He has got so many others. We know of Nelson Mandela Memorial Lecturer, Universal Peace Federation. There was one this week. Albert, we ended with you. We're going to start this way now with you, Lucas Teneng, Chair 4. Political parties, as they have said, you've listened. When people personalize as personal property instead of political formation, is that what we have in Cameroon from all the reactions?
Unfortunately, that's what we have in Cameroon. We have political parties that are tied to people, to personalities.
The implications.
I don't want to go into citing names of political parties, but the political parties in Cameroon are synonymous to those who are leading it. They are synonymous, because when you just say SDF, the picture that comes to your mind is Nijon Frundi. And Njembode said something there, whether the political parties, whether the leaders want to leave now. You see, when you create a political party and create it and you structure it in a way that the aura is around the person who is leading it, it is a problem. Because when that person is not there, it disintegrates. If the political party, if it is a structure that is strong, no matter who becomes chairman, the structure will continue to move. But when once the structure is weak and the leader is strong, the aura is around the leader, there's a problem.
So, Prof.
Let me learn. It's not only political parties that have been personalized. There's something I've noticed in Cameroon here. And journalists, I don't know where is the problem of journalists. The head of state created the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism. Appointed members there. Appointed the former Prime Minister, Peter Musanga, as the chairman. I have seen on media, they write the Musanga Commission. I've seen it several times. And we know, you know in English that silence is acquiescence. He has not come out, not one single time to say that commission does not belong to me. When you say you start calling it Musanga Commission, it means that they have personalized it. And let me learn, when you personalize something, people who are not in tandem with him, what do? They put aside all the work of the commission.
Now, Prof, what Lucas is saying holds strong. But in case of somebody like Peter Mafani Musanga, who is, I want to say it clear, loud and clear, respected. I don't see anybody who doesn't respect the humility of the big person he is. Could it not also be, because you have talked about that one, probably the case may not be true for Musanga Commission because he is respected. Could he, at this particular period that commission is created to start solving one problem that is haunting all of us, could it not be an advantage for his case? And for some other cases?
Well, I think he shouldn't be for his case. With all respect, I think he has all the humility, all the respect, he deserves it. But when it comes to national issues, he was appointed to head a commission, the National Commission for Bilingualism and Multiculturalism. It shouldn't be attached to him as though it is his.
Okay.
If he has done something so wonderful, he should be appraised. He should be congratulated by giving, I don't know, whether an epithet, maybe sometimes later, not when he's in active service.
We got that point.
Yes.
But where I see coming to defend him is that he's not the one who abrogated that title to himself. You are the ones who called him the Musanga, giving his credibility. Well, we are not going to continue to talk about.
I think we're talking about the.
We're talking about political parties, whether they are personal or formations or personal property.
I think that
the last word.
I think that was just an aside. I think that if many people call it the Musanga Commission, it's because the commission is pretty new. That commission was created in 2017 and it's just 4 years old. And if you want to relate that commission to many, it's difficult to say National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism, which is pretty long. When you say the Musanga Commission, even a common man in the street will know that, okay, it's the commission which is headed by him. What is happening? We are thinking that by that time the commission would have made a name, would have been implanted, and things like that. But what I want to say is that as far as
15 seconds.
Exactly, what we are saying is that opposition or alternative political parties should have a vision, sell that vision, and it is from that vision that the party will be identified. You know, in other countries, everybody knows. Can you really tell me what is socialism? Are you sure that a common man in the streets in Bamenda, when they say SDF is a socialist party, he pretty understands what socialism is all about?
Not really.
Because the vision is not being sold pretty well.
Yes, the last word.
I just want to come in to say that it is not about the preaching of giving the message. The people have understood the message, and that's why there have been massive support of political parties in this country. That is not a message. I say there should be some sort of decency within our political atmosphere, whereby all the parties are given the equal opportunity to operate within this country. In that light, we'll no longer be talking about politics as a professor brought it here. The issue is because, and I maintain it, from our independence right now, our space has not been well defined. The democracy and the politics within our country has not been clean, and so we must define where we are heading to. If not, we continue in this one-party mentality that we came with from independence.
Thank you very much. We have used all our time, and exactly the people who are doing this are listening to us. They are watching us here, Barrister, and they are taking into consideration our suggestion, your suggestion. Thank you very much for coming, gentlemen. I also want to thank you for watching us from wherever you are around the world. It was a wonderful time today, Palm Sunday, to have you with us. If you missed out on this program, a rebroadcast comes up on Monday between 2:30 and 3 p.m. or you just connect to CRTV web Facebook and you will watch us at your convenience. Thanks once again. Nice time.